Hi guys, I'm glad you're here with me today. We're going to be chatting all about this new release of Milani's Baked collection. So they've had baked products for a while. I can actually remember being in the other house when Milani launched their baked blushes and trying those out for the first time. Now what we have is a whole range of baked blushes, bronzers, and highlighters, expanded shade range, and a reformulation that claims to be softer and longer wearing. I think softer means actually in the texture of it. I've noticed putting my brush into some of these products, it can be kind of powdery right away. There's a lot of pigment there. There's a lot of color payoff potential with that softness. I was sent the PR package of these products and it says in their little handout, we infused grape leaf extract and vitamin E rich olive fruit oil to create a softer, more nourishing veil of color. And I think it's like a softness that is actually in the texture of the product because there's tons of pigment. Each skin loving formula now wears beautifully for up to 12 hours. So that seems like that's kind of an updated claim there with these. And our expanded baked blush shade range ensures every undertone finds its perfect glow. And part of why I really wanted to do this video is because the cost on these is, I think, kind of steep as far as drugstore makeup goes. Like, it's definitely something where if I were buying these myself and I was seeing that $12.99 price tag in the drugstore, I'd stop and say, wait, like, let me make a careful choice. So I can hopefully guide you through that a little bit today. I have my makeup on minus, well, my eyes obviously, but also minus the blush, bronzer, and highlight. And you got kind of a sneak peek at these if you watched my video where you were giving me the makeup tips. That was a really fun video, by the way. Thank you for watching that. But there were 3 of these products that I tried out in there. That's just one more spot where you can see some colors in action. But I'm going to talk about the bronzers first here. I've experimented with 3 of these bronzers, and there's a total of 4. Just so you're aware, there's a very, very rich one called Sicilian Sunset that I don't think is really relevant to my skin tone, but I want those of you with tan or rich skin to know that that is out there. That's part of this range. The lightest one is called Amalfi Glow, and this one, I glanced at it and thought, you know, I'll try it, but I'm sure this is too light for me. This totally surprised me. I'm gonna put this one on today because I think it's very surprising, like the color payoff that you get. The one that applied in a more expected way for me was the one called Tuscan Tan. That's 02. You can see the shade difference between these two. Is there a glow in these? Honestly, I feel like they apply matte. It seems like in their little domed packaging here, there might be a glow, but I don't see it from this product on my skin. I do see it from some blushes, but not really the bronzers. And then we've got one deeper than that before we get to the darkest, and that one's called Capri Copper. Played with this one a little bit yesterday. This is probably verging on darker than I need, but can be used. And see, there's, I think, a massive shade jump between the second shade and the third shade. But in this ever-growing drugstore baked landscape that we're in, you might wonder how these compare to the CoverGirl True Blend Skin Enhancer. I have this one in the shade Caramel Truffle, and I feel like this applies with ease without me really thinking about it. A brush going in is not kicking up excess. It's a little more user-friendly, I will say, but these are still really pretty on the skin, and I was shocked at how beautiful this lightest one actually looks on my skin tone right now. So I'm going to take you through that with my Sephora angled brush, and when I first went in, I mean, I just went in and back forth, and there's so much powder just that kicks up and is going around your pan. So that may be your instinct, and that's going to be more than you need to do. Okay, I'm just doing that for show right now, but really just a dab in is going to give you what you need. But this shade I thought gave me yesterday when I was wearing it a really pretty, like, gentle bronze around my skin. This is how I'm actually going into it now, just like you're walking your brush right over it. And I'm still tapping off excess. So, you know, in that way, I feel like it's not quite so user-friendly as just throwing on that CoverGirl. However, a really good tone. And if you're about my skin tone, even lighter, there's something about the easy way this is blending back into my skin that I really like. And it can contour. See a more pronounced patch of that laying down right there? And then buffing it in. I feel like the bronzer part of this baked range, I wasn't always out like finding it places frequently. Sometimes in Walmart I remember there being like one baked bronzer option, but then Milani had these other bronzers too. So what's coming out now really feels like sort of a fresh new thing for them. And again, just be careful. Be careful, because this is the lightest one, and I feel like, gosh, when I put my brush in, she's really kicking up, and it seems like the softest one in the lineup. Like, if you saw my finished look from yesterday, I did a short video talking about foundation. I had this bronzer on. I just thought the makeup looked gorgeous, and I felt like this played a big part in that. Easy blending once you get started. Just watch yourself on amounts, because a lot wants to come on your brush. As far as that second tone that I said you can see applied in my most recent video, this one, it's kicking up a decent amount too, but not quite to the extent of the lightest for whatever reason. Maybe I'm just instinctively a little more careful with a bronzer that goes a bit deeper, but I would say with a little more sun on my skin, this would probably end up being the favorite majority of the year, this shade called Tuscan Tan. But there's just something special about the way this lightest one just very softly and easily works into my skin tone right now. And then there's this one called Capri Copper, and I feel like maybe I could show you a little bit of this just so you can see, like, a tap in. I'm getting the cloud. Also, in case you were wondering, these do not have like the little lift up and any sort of applicator underneath the way the standard blush packaging has been. And another thing you might notice is that everything's the same size. Bronzers are the same size as blushes, which are the same size as highlighters. It used to be the blushes were the smallest pan size and your highlighter's bigger and the bronzer's bigger. But I'm tapping off a little bit of this excess on my hand, and maybe you can see the depth level coming in there from this Capri Copper, the third shade in the lineup. It comes under the heading of wearable for me, but I think it shows quite a bit more warmth as I blend it in, and just generally darker than I need, probably. Especially when my skin tone is kind of going through the winter months and is probably as fair as it can possibly be, but whatever's left on the brush, I'm adding that in there. But there you go. I can say, looking up close at my skin was very matte going into this, and I am not seeing additional glow coming from these bronzers. They might have the appearance, oh gosh, I just keep dropping them. Fortunately, they're not breaking. But they might have the appearance, just seeing that pan, like, oh, is that a luminosity there? But I'm really, in all honesty, not seeing it in a swatch, and I'm not seeing it play out on my skin either. So that's the bronzer situation. Also, I should let you know what's on my skin already. I usually do that at the start, but I primed with the Essence Bouncy Plump and also the Jelly Grip Stick from Essence, so that's up on my under eye, but this is all over the face. It really doesn't give any type of glow, it's just kind of smoothing. My foundation and concealer, as seen in a recent short video, I've been experimenting with Revolution Skin Silk, the foundation and the concealer. Foundation I wear in F3, and the concealer is Fair Cool, and I think these look beautiful on my skin. I've really been enjoying these. I saw them at Walmart. Walmart like recently changed up where I live, their whole makeup section, moved it into this big like area of the store that was usually holding like the seasonal stuff or the back to college stuff. My Walmart's in a college town. Now they've devoted that space to beauty, and at least when I was in there, they had unlocked all the doors, and I just felt like I could browse with ease. So yeah, I got these and I'm liking those. And it gives my skin just the softest of glows, but not a ton, but then I powdered, so that took away most of my glow. Maybelline Fit Me Loose Powder in Fair, and elsewhere on my face, CoverGirl Clean in, I can never remember the shade, Classic Beige. And I did my brows with CoverGirl Clean Fresh Brow Nano Pencil in medium brown and Morphe Micromanager Gripping Brow Gel. That's what was all on my face when I started. So now we're going to talk about the blushes. We have 8 different blushes in this range. Some of them that I recognize from Milani's original baked blush launch. I feel like Luminoso became the most famous, but I think they were still running with shades like Berry Amore. I remember Dolce Pink releasing at a later time. Here's how I'm going to organize my thoughts. I think I'm going to get some swatches down on these and then start talking about them. I swatched 4 of these blushes so far. There's 2 of them that have kind of that classic marbled baked look. Like we've got mostly one shade, but then going throughout, we've got like little rivers of additional color or shimmer going through them. Like I'm holding up Berry Amore here, or Berry Amore, and I can see subtle little lines of gold going through that. And also we've got Rose d'Oro, very close shade here. But looking up close at that, you see what I mean? There's visibly more than one tone working into that blush. And the blushes that have that appearance definitely feel a bit firmer to the touch. If you put a brush in, even with some force, they're not kicking up a cloud. And those are definitely shades I recognize from the old lineup. It seems like maybe they haven't changed them much, at least just in the feel. I'm not familiar enough with the shades to say that the shades haven't changed at all. But the first one swatched here, that's the one called Berry Amore. Super soft. You're getting a gentle sheen with that, of course, but it's giving me like a soft, dusty peach warmth. And then slightly more pronounced than that with a little more bronzy glow is that next one called Rose d'Oro. Okay, so that's the next one that I've swatched there. They are not far off from one another, but I would say Rose d'Oro has more intensity. Next up, I put Luminoso. I've looked at this Luminoso up against my standard one that I have had for a long time. I do think they feel very similar. This one might feel a little softer to the touch, but all in all, a very, very close to the original appearance on the cheeks. We're talking soft, peachy, glowy. I feel like the glow with Luminoso is more pronounced than the other friends that it's swatched with here. So you do see that on your cheeks, but you also see some true peachy color. It has almost a pearlescent blush mixed with some highlight type of look to it. And if there was one difference I could pick at, it's that maybe there's a little more color intensity showing on my cheeks with this newest launch, but there's not a huge difference. If you have been a Luminoso fan for years and you're thinking, okay, do I have to go get this new one now because it's new and improved? I wouldn't say I noticed a ton of difference there. And honestly, they shouldn't be changing it up much. It's like their most popular one. The other one that I swatched here in this lineup is, I think, a very soft, kind of muted, dusty pink, and that one is the one called Sparkling Rosé. That one was applied in my video with the tips from you, okay? I think I've said several times it was my last video. I'm shooting this on Thursday. I got another video in between going up today. But this is Sparkling Rosé. It looks like a solid color in there. You know, we're not seeing variations of other shades rolling through it, but it's a pretty color. I think a lot of people would like Sparkling Rosé because it's pink, but not too pink, and it gives you more color intensity than Luminoso and a little less glow. I feel like those are our 4 more muted blushes in this lineup. And while I do really like Luminoso along with everybody else, I would say my favorite out of those 4 is the Sparkling Rosé. I think that one's really pretty. Moving on to the final 4 blushes, we've got, I think, a little more color punch here. We do have a soft pink, but then I really think more intensity with the last 3, but a couple of cool pinks to think about. Honestly, they're kind of reminding me of Too Faced Candy Clouds and the Super Candy Clouds, or the more intense one of those. So we're talking about 2 intensities of cool pink. This first one is called Pink Panna Cotta. This one carries a lot of shimmer. It's very much like a fusion, I think, of highlighter and blush, but it does show a little bit more intensity on my cheeks than you might think. And it's interesting too, because the glow in it, I'm not sure if this will translate on camera, but the shimmer in it is actually kind of golden, which was a little unexpected given the immediate like cool pink look when you just see it in the pan, but the shiftiness in it goes a little bit gold, which is interesting. That'll be one of the ones I try on for you today. And then the next one we have Dolce Pink, which I know had been a popular one in the line, and that one's right here. Less shimmer than this and just more color intensity. More of a pink punch with that one for sure, and you can really just tell that by seeing them side by side how that's going to be. And then the next 2 are some beautiful looking rich berry tones. The lighter of the 2 is called Caio Bella. This one I see just a little more glow in it, a little more lightness in it. If you're examining that one extremely closely, kind of like this one, the shimmer shift in it, it goes a little bit golden. It's very, very pretty. And then your deepest one is called Granita Glow, and that one just feels more intense all around and a little less shimmer. 2 varying takes on depth here. I'll let you see those side by side. This one is Caio Bella, that's number 18. And then this one is Granita Glow. And if I can hold them in such a way that the outer packaging doesn't totally throw you off. Can you see that there's just more glow bouncing off in this one? Whereas this one is just straight up rich, okay? Beautiful pigment in those though. And I'm gonna get a few of these on hopefully so you can see what's up. Again, I will be linking down below to where you can see the sparkling rosé going on. I think a lot of people are familiar with Luminoso, but I can link to a video where I've used that. But we're gonna do the pink Panna Cotta here. So it looks really light. I would say a little less powder kick up compared to the bronzers overall with these blushes. But I'm gonna put this on my cheeks here, and I think you're gonna be able to see a little more color than you might expect. I build it a bit. And I'm utilizing the whole cheek today, friends, because I got stuff to show. But can you see the glow that immediately bounces off, almost giving highlighter optional? I don't know that I'd want to build it much more than that, because as you build a shimmery blush, you do keep getting the shimmer, but that's that pretty pink. For those people who sort of like to walk the line between highlighter and blush and just don't mind having that glow in there. But could be too frosty for some. But there's pink Panna Cotta, very softly. Doesn't come off quite as bubblegummy as you might think it would when applied to the cheeks. There's softness, and then the sheen goes golden with its shift. Now your real cool pinky satisfaction is probably gonna come from Dolce Pink. So I'm gonna add a little bit of this. You'll notice I'm not really scrubbing my brush in. I'm just seeing it picked up there on my brush. I'm gonna take this back a little further. See the color intensity just really amping up this cheek without, this cheek with. And you know, what about that staying power claim? Because I have been playing with these the last several days, even on days when I haven't really shot a video and showed them going on. And I am speaking as one who kind of puts plenty of product on, to be honest, but it has lasted well. I can say that because I check my makeup like in the late afternoon hours, in the evenings before I take it off. I really look it over too, and I've still seen my blush and my bronzer. Even that lightest shade of bronzer that I was talking about that I'm mostly wearing today. So there's that Dolce Pink there. That might be one of my faves in the line. I like sparkling rosé. I just think it's a more common look, but I'm also really into Caio Bella. Like these two. Yes, I am going to work in a little bit of a third blush for you today. We do have that deepest one, which I probably need to give a little more time and attention to, but I know I'm gonna have to be real careful with it. This one, not quite as careful, but if you just want to see what a little rosy depth looks like. I'm practically doing this in a contour zone for you. It's not so much because I'm saying, hey everybody, put it on just like this, but I'm just trying to let you see. I adore it. Might be top dog. Just a really pretty blush. If I was just wearing this one solo, I'm seeing that softly going up here on the cheeks and looking just like Snow White's blush, you know? So that wraps up the blush discussion. And now we're moving on to highlighters. I've experimented with 3 of the different highlights. There's 4 total, and I'm gonna swatch them first. Here's our 4 different highlighters. The first one that's swatched here is the softest one. This is probably my favorite. This is the one I'd be gravitating toward the most. It appears to have the most brightness in its pan, and it's called Dolce Perla, and it is a beautiful soft pearl. I don't feel like it's too much. It really behaves like the original, which I continue to have and use with frequency in my collection. It's just a smaller pan, okay? So consider that from a value sense if you think that's worth it. But it's soft, it's pearly. I have this going on in that past video. If you want to see it in action, it's beautiful. I think it's a real sweet spot of highlighter probably for a lot of people. And with all of these highlights, I'm proud to say I'm not seeing visible flakes of shimmer, flecks of glitter. That's not a thing, but you're going to have varying levels of metallic coming through, okay? So I sense the difference big time between this one and the next one, which is called Champagne d'Oro, okay? Do you see the more golden nature to that? And then also as it swatches, this one just grabs with more of a metallic look, and it's more intense applied. I'm going to apply that second one because that's kind of like the runner-up for me, and I want you to see the way that really has some intensity as it goes on. This next one is looking a little bit rosy, isn't it? That's the one called Rosa Italiana, and here we're reaching a level where that's not going to be extremely like highlighter-ish on my skin. I used that the other day as a blush topper and it looked really pretty, but trying to confine that to like the upper part of the cheek and thinking, okay, things are popping off, not so much with my skin tone with that shade, but a medium to tan skin tone might be feeling the highlighter vibes more from that one. Similar levels of shimmer on the last three, Champagne d'Oro, Rosa Italiana, and then we've got our deepest one here, Bronze Splendor. They're all rocking this more metallic glow, whereas that lightest one is staying in its pearly lane. That swatch up there, that's just me burning myself on the oven. Not a swatch, but looks like I swatched something. I'll admit I have not gotten into the bronzy one on my skin just because I don't think it's really going to be a great fit. This is my favorite because I do kind of like a subtle highlight, but I'm going to show you the next one in the Champagne d'Oro. Check for Dolce Perla in the last video, or honestly many other YouTube videos that I've done with it. But I'm going to go into this with my Real Techniques setting brush. I'm immediately seeing a little bit of a shimmer cloud, but that's the softness of these products. That's something you're going to notice a little with the highlights. But can you see the golden glow going on there? More intensity than the pearl. I'm just getting it laid down at this point, friends, and then I'm going to buff that in. Whatever's left gets to go up to the forehead, but buffing it in, I can enjoy that. It's not too much glow. It's just more than the pearl. And I like it. Frankly, I think it's really pretty. I just wanted you guys to know that even though it looks deeper than that, it's still fully capable of popping off on a fair to light skin tone. So guys, I'm just gonna finish off my face real quick so you can kind of see the finished look, and we'll have some final thoughts and favorites. Alrighty guys, here's my finished look. I really am in kind of a rush because I have to make lunches, I have to get downstairs and get going on breakfast as well. But I just wanted to say, I finished my eye look. I used the Ulta Beauty Everyday Faves, and I stuck to this little cool friend right down here. Really, these two are my look, and a little bit of this on the inner lid. I just thought it kind of went with the little zip up that I have on. I have Persona mascara on top and bottom, the tubing mascara, and then my lip color is Dangerous Dolly lip liner paired with this Rimmel Oh My Gloss Butter Me Up Lip Butter Balm. That's in the shade Mellow Mocha. Really comfy lip. But anyway guys, it was exciting to see Milani do this reboot on their baked collection. However, like I said, the price is over $12. It's something you may want to look critically at and really understand what the shades are and what they're doing. I hope I covered the color tones and the glow level on these things for you, and again linking to places where you can see more applications. But as for my personal favorites, what impressed me the most, I'm so pleased with what this Amalfi Glow, that lightest bronzer color, is doing. Also enjoy Tuscan Tan, but these are beautiful on my skin. I will say though, not quite as user-friendly as this one, and this is still pretty on my skin too, that CoverGirl Skin Enhancer. If you're already into this and loving this, I'm not saying you need to rush out and buy a Milani bronzer as well, but of their selection, those two bronzers really appealed to me. Dolce Perla is the favorite highlighter, and my favorite blush, my tip top one, and probably my most favorite thing out of the entire collection would be this blush called Caio Bella. It's one of the deeper ones, but it's not the absolute deepest. It has a little glow. It's really nicely pigmented. You do need to be careful with it, but it's so gorgeous. And I say this all the time with deep blushes, but you have a range with that. You can use it very softly. You can use a little more. I think it's stunning. Runner up to that for me is going to be the Dolce Pink. I think that's really pretty, gives a nice color payoff, a really beautiful freshness. And if you're thinking about this one or the lightest one, you know, there's a little less shimmer going on here and a little more pigment, which is the lane I'd veer into. So that's my wrap up, guys. I hope this video was helpful. Let me know what you've tried, what you enjoyed most, and I will see you again in my next video. I love you. Bye. Bisky, say bye, honey. Bye.